Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind Podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Wednesday. It's October 28th. It's 2020, and we're here to talk Week 8 of the NFL season. And I'm always, so grateful and so happy to work with my bearded brother, Genifro7. Grant, how are you doing, my friend?
Absolutely wonderful. Had a real good week 7. I I don't know how some people miss certain spots, but even though going a little bit underweight on some of the really chalky guys, I was real overweight on McLaurin, although he was chalky. Keenan Allen, Adams, and Gibson. So I had a good weekend. So I'm ready to keep things rolling.
Well, let's do that. Let's keep things rolling here. We're going to do what we always do, go game by game, break down situations and spots that we may like and want to talk about. Obviously, it is early. It's Wednesday. We're doing this as like a first look podcast. Hey, that is what the morning grind is. It is a first look podcast almost all the time. So let's get started here. Tennessee Titans, Cincinnati Bengals, 53.5 total. Tennessee favored by 5.5. What do you like here for the Titans?
For the Titans, I mean, I'm fine with AJ Brown, as always. Like, he always has huge amounts of upside. Tannehill's always fine. Derrick Henry is what he is. Like, the matchup is not horrible for him. Cincinnati 21st in rush DVOA, 20th in pass DVOA. There's only two guys to pay up for running back, really, or two main guys to pay up for all the way to the top. So it's an interesting slate for running back, and I don't think I'm going to be on Henry too much. Like, yes, they're a 6-point favorite, but it's on the road. I think this game will be closer than people realize. So if I'm going to target anyone, I think that I'd be more likely to target Jonnu Smith, AJ Brown, and Tannehill here, because more people are going to be on Henry, I think, because they have to pay up somewhere for running back if they want to keep paying up for running backs. And I think this is one of the spots where he's going to be pretty heavily owned. And yeah, it's a fine matchup, but still Derrick Henry. Any week can go incredible. Any week can go not incredible based on if he gets over 100 rushing yards or if he gets touchdowns. And those are real volatile. Occasionally it'll kill me, but Derrick Henry is not a guy that I'm going to play a ton this weekend. I'm more going to focus on the passing game here.
Yeah, so I like this game a lot. I think there's a lot of different ways to approach this game. I think it's going to be one of the higher scoring games on the weekend. So I like Corey Davis. Stepped right back into what we've kind of seen from him this season. The target share was high. Him and AJ Brown's target share really close. They both played 90% of the snaps. Davis ran a couple extra routes, but overall, like if you're looking at this game, I think that you're looking at AJ Brown, but like I think you have to look at Corey Davis too. 5,100. You mentioned Smith. He's pretty cheap for a tight end as well. Don't mind that. Don't mind Derrick Henry. I kind of like him a little bit more on FanDuel than I do on DraftKings with the touchdown equity and the half-point PPR. So I love Cincinnati. I love the Bengals in this spot. I like Burrow. I like Green. I like Higgins. I like Boyd. I love the Bengals in this spot.
I'm right there with you. We just got news slightly before we got on here that Clowney missed practice, which I think will help a little bit with Burrows if he doesn't end up playing or if he's struggling a bit with a knee injury. But Tennessee, yeah, already under a league average defense, currently ranked 17th in DVOA, bad, not great against the pass or the run, but worse against the pass. Mixon will be interesting if he ends up missing here. Then I think we're going to have another Geo chalky week. Like, he should be heavily involved in everything. He can be involved in the passing game, but like I'm going to play all the pieces here. I mean, Burrow, he's going to probably throw the ball a whole lot here. Home dog, we should expect to see over 40 passing attempts like we have for most of the season. I think if Mixon ends up playing, it hurts Burrow a little bit because they're probably going to run the ball with him more as they have been in recent weeks. But if Gio's in there, then yeah, I love this Cincinnati game. Like, I don't have a huge preference on which target of his to go with. Like, Higgins, Boyd, and even AJ Green has seen over 10 targets in the last few weeks. Any one of them are fine. I think my favorite is probably Higgins just because of the price tag here at 5.6. But Burrow's going to be slinging the ball here, and I think there's a spot where they have a 24-point total, and Gio's not going to be rushing the ball a ton. It's going to be a lot of pass game stuff. So I really like everyone over here on the Cincy side.
It's hard not to like AJ Green at 4,500 with 24 targets in the last two games. If we're expecting him to throw the ball here a lot, but I think Tyler Boyd's the best play. Like, if we're just putting price aside, I think Boyd's the best play. But like you got to like the discount on Green and Higgins here. I really don't like the running game. Like if Mixon misses and Geo is chalk, I'll probably be underweight in tournaments. I think the price increase at almost 6K, he's going to have to score a touchdown and get some catches there, which he probably will get catches and stuff, but like he's going to be a little bit more touchdown dependent than what was he 4K last week or something like that, 4,200. I know he was cheap, right? He wasn't like
he was far too cheap.
Yeah, 4,500. Like I think $1,300 on this slate makes a huge difference, but it's still really early in the week too. So let's move on. We got the Jets and the Chiefs, 49 total here. Kansas City is favored by 19.5 points in this game. Is there anything on the Jets that you will take a shot on here?
If Crowder plays, then just based strictly on volume, he's in play because, I mean, every game he's played this season, he's had at least 10 targets. Like against Miami, yes, he only had 48 yards, but still 11 points. Yeah, I get he's 5.8K, but he has a touchdown. He has touchdown upside. He has 10 catch upside, and he has 100-yard upside. So if he ends up playing, even though Kansas City, fantastic pass defense so far this season, I don't care. Crowder is going to get the volume. He's the one guy that I would want to go with.
Denzel Mims is the other guy that I think you can take a tournament flyer on here. He's 3,200. Almost 100% of the snaps, 98% of the snaps in his first NFL football game. 7 targets. 7 targets at 3,200 seems crazy.
I think I think he's more in play if Crowder ends up missing.
Well, like this is a guy they drafted it really high. Like I feel like they're gonna like I feel like Perryman might lose snaps to Mims more than Crowder.
Yeah, no, I think Mims is the most likely guy to do anything if Crowder plays or if Crowder misses. But yeah, like this is just an interesting spot. They're going to have to be slinging the ball, but they are the Jets, so they might be passing the ball late in the game. But yeah,
we're done with Chris Herndon, right? Like we're done.
No, he is officially like, I don't cross guys off saying I'll never play him again, but I'm fairly certain he's one of like 3 people that'll never play again.
Like Perrine, he played 73% of the snaps, but like I can't do that. I get it. Like this defense has been a little bit worse against the run this season than they have against the pass, but he's 4,300, and if he gets 4 or 5 catches, maybe he gets there at 4,300, but he's still likely going to probably need a touchdown. It's running back.
Yeah, no, it's Jets are gross. The Jets are just absolutely disgusting.
So the Chiefs picked up this guy called Le'Veon Bell from the Jets, and Bell was not happy about it. And they play each other this week. We saw CEH get a 51% snap share last week. Bell first week, 34%. Man, it's going to be really tough to kind of predict like what's going to happen here. Like Darrell Williams might get more snaps in this game if they get up by a lot. So is there anything here on the Chiefs outside of like this defense that you like?
I'm fine with Hill. I'm fine with Kelsey. I mean, they have a 34 implied team total here. Jets defense is really not very good. They're terrible against the pass. So Hill, Kelsey, like they can get there in one half. Like they can easily both get there in one half. They're the only 2 I would take a shot on. Not trusting this rushing game. Mahomes, I really want 4 quarters out of because you have some rushing upside, but not a ton. So it's just a spot where like take a flyer on Hill, take a flyer on Kelsey. Don't use both of them. Don't stack up this game. Probably don't use Mahomes. If you do, you pretty much have to bring it back with Crowder because that means he probably had a massive game. But like I'll probably be 5% Kelsey, 5% Hill, and that's really – and then Crowder if he plays, and that's my entire exposure to this game.
The only other guy that I think I want to mention here is Demarcus Robinson. He is 3,100 on DraftKings. Like, I don't know how much we're going to need, like a punt wide receiver, but I highly, highly doubt Sammy Watkins with a hamstring injury that is not practicing on Wednesday comes back for a game against the Jets, right? So like Pringle, Hill, all these guys played around 60% of the snaps last week. I would kind of expect it to be the same. And at 3,100, if we need it. Like, it's still so early in the week to know if we're going to need it or not. I think you could take a shot on him, but like it really is just going to come down to like if I don't need to go down here at a wide receiver position, I probably won't. Grant, like there's much better plays on this slate. I just wanted to point it out that I highly doubt Sammy Watkins plays in this game.
Yeah. No, I don't mind that call. Plus, like, who's going to end up if they get out too far ahead? What wide receiver is going to be out there? It's probably Pringle, Hardman, Robinson, or the guys that will probably stay on the field. So there's always a chance Robinson gets some work later on in the game. But yeah, I like that call.
Rams and Dolphins, 46 total. Rams favored by 3.5 in this one. We'll get to the Dolphins in a second, but Rams on a short week, traveling across country to face the Dolphins on a 1:00 spot. I'm a little concerned. I'm not going to lie. A little concerned. Let's talk Rams. Like the Miami defense is terrible against the run, but like which one? Like Henderson or Brown or Akers? Like I don't know, man. Like I think in tournaments you can take shots on Henderson or Brown, but I don't love it. I like Cooper Kupp here. I think he's super interesting.
Yeah. I honestly don't know what to do here with the Rams. Like you're right. They are possibly the worst rush defense in the league, but I could see Sean McVay just giving us a giant middle finger and throwing Cam Akers in there even.
Wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, it's McVay. He's just going to do this to us. But Henderson or Brown are fine. Like they're tournament options. I want to see where their ownership is at, but either one of them can go for a decent game. The receiving game, like I honestly think that the Rams end up losing this game. It's in Miami. You mentioned a short week, changing time zones, everything. I really like Miami if you're betting this week. They're probably my favorite money line bet on the week, but I don't really know if I want anything in this game at all. Like Tua's, it's his first start. I guess we'll get to Miami in a second, but yeah, the receiving game, Woods, Kupp, fine, use either of them, but I'm probably not going to.
And like Henderson's 61 on FanDuel and Brown is 52. Like that's where you take shots because like who's gonna get in the end zone? Like that's these guys. This isn't like Todd Gurley's backfield anymore. Like they're not throwing to the running back at a high clip anymore. They're using Josh Reynolds now. Like Josh Reynolds has come out of nowhere, and he's like a real option in DFS right now because of like his target share continues to climb. So I like Cooper Kupp. I think this is a good spot for him. I don't mind Robert Woods. I'm a Dolphins fan. I watch the Dolphins. They struggle with guys like Cooper Kupp. So I could see him having a good game. Obviously, we'll have to wait on the news on Higbee and the tight end situation. Everett would be okay if Higbee doesn't play. Let's go to the Miami side. They've benched Fitzpatrick in the bye week. Tua is going to be the starter. What are your thoughts on the Dolphins here?
First of all, I'm sad.
Me too, buddy. Me too. What? No, go ahead. I like it makes me so mad. Like Dallas should be on the phone right now with Miami and like, what can we give you for Ryan Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, yeah, Fitzpatrick was on Dallas. Like, oh gosh,
could you imagine using him with like CD Lamb, Cooper, and Gallup?
I would. It would literally be Fitzmagic on the Bucks all over again, but with a better offense and higher pace.
Oh man, it would be fantastic.
Yeah, but Tua, like he's 5'6". I don't hate using him. Like it's honestly not a bad play. Parker was limited in practice, I believe, today, or he missed. I can't remember which one. Yeah, limited.
Yeah, they've been doing this all year with him though. Like he hasn't had a full practice week all year. They're being careful with his groin.
I kind of hope he does play. I think this is a Preston William week. I think that Gesicki and Preston William are fantastic plays. I don't think many people are going to go here. We don't know who Tua is really going to focus in on. Like it could be Parker, it could be Williams, it could be Gesicki. I think that they win this game. I think that their offense actually runs fairly smoothly. Tua's a gifted quarterback, and he's been entrenched in this offense a decent amount just because he's been at practice. He knows what's going on most likely. So Gesicki and Williams are my two top guys. Like Williams is 4,300. We saw what this guy could do last year before he got injured. Like And we saw that Fitzpatrick loved throwing to Parker. That's why Williams really hasn't had that great of the year most of the time. But prior to Fitzmagic coming in, prior to Williams getting injured, he had multiple big games. He's too cheap here. I do not understand. Well, I understand why, but he's too cheap here. We know that he has massive upside. We know that he has big play upside. And if he gets an increase in targets, which is more than likely going to happen because they're probably going to have to throw the ball a bit in this game, I really like Williams. I think Gesicki, tight end who can go out to the slot, who's a great catching tight end. I think that he's a good play on this slate. And then Gaskin, I don't know what to do here. Like, you're a Miami guy. I'm not sure how much he's going to be doing. He could get an increase because of Tua. Like, could change things up a little bit. Maybe run a little bit of play action. I don't know. I don't have a good grasp on Gaskins, but I think Williams is a fantastic play on the slate.
Well, Gaskins wasn't meant to be the guy at the beginning of the year. Like, it was supposed to be Howard and Breida. So, like, they could have worked together a little bit more in camp, like, as, like, second team. So, we don't know. Like, we have no idea. Here's the thing. Here's my thoughts on Tua, right? So, like, I like Miami in this spot. I do think that this is going to be a rough spot for the Rams traveling cross country on a short week on a 1 p.m. game. I've already said that. I like the Gesicki call. I like the Williams call. I like Parker. Like, I'm not going to run like a 3-man here. Like, I'm not going to go Tua, Parker, Gesicki. I think Tua locks into one guy, and I think it's way too hard to predict who that's going to be. But the fact that, like, Parker is limited in practice over the last 2 weeks, it wasn't just this week. He was limited last week too. They've been very careful with him. So in the bye, like, maybe the most time that Tua's had is with Williams or Gesicki. So I think this is an interesting spot. I think, like, if you're looking for a cheaper end stack, you can look at this Miami Dolphins offense and just kind of hope that the Rams are flat. And, like, the Rams play down to opponents all the time anyway. So, like, this game has very sneaky over potential. Like, and it's one of the lower totals on the slate, so it's not going to be a popular game by any means.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not going to, and people aren't going to want to stack up Miami because they're going to want to bring it back with someone. Who are they going to bring it back with besides Kupp or Woods? They don't trust Henderson, so I'm right there with you. And, like, honestly, the stack of Tua, Williams, and Gesicki, if you don't end up going with Parker, is still pretty cheap.
Moving on, we got the Colts and the Lions, 50 total. Colts favored by 3 in this one. What do you like here for the Colts?
I don't know if I really want to do much of anything here with the Colts. I mean, so first of all, was it Pittman might be back this week? I can't remember.
Michael Pittman.
All right. Pascal and Pittman. I always got confused. Pascal's on IR. No. Who's on IR?
Campbell.
Paris. All right. All those P's. That's why I'm confused. But yeah, like, over on the Indy side, I don't really have a ton of interest in Rivers. I don't really have a ton of interest in any of the pass catchers. I mean, we can keep waiting for Hilton to finally have a big week, and we can just keep waiting probably the rest of the year if we really have to. But, like, with Pittman coming back, Pascal, like, if anyone, I mean, Burton is probably my favorite guy. We can use Taylor. I mean, Detroit's not very good against the run. I'm just not a big Taylor guy. But Burton, priced at 3.5K, is a guy that's probably going to see a decent amount of targets. And this one, he's been good recently. He's too underpriced. It's going to be him, and then spread all over the place with Rivers, and then probably Taylor getting a decent workload. But at 6.6K, I think there's other guys in that price range or cheaper that I'd rather end up going with. So even though the Colts have a 26 implied team total, this is not going to be the fastest paced game in the world, I don't think. And there's going to be a decent amount of rushing. And I don't know if anyone really gets here over on the Colts side outside of probably Burton.
See, I love Taylor. I think Taylor's a cash gameplay this week. Like, Mac was the guy. Like, they started the season with Mac as the guy. This is coming off of a bye week with a rookie. I think Taylor is going to be more infused in the offense. He was already trending in the right directions as far as, like, snaps and touches. This is an amazing matchup. The Detroit line is terrible, even though the Indy line is terrible too. But this is a spot where a week to get healthier, a week to get a rookie running back more infused with the offense. As far as, like, the pass catchers go, good luck. Like, I like Trey Burton. I think he's fine, but, like, nobody on this team has an over 20% target share. And we've seen this with Phillip Rivers throughout his career. Like he had Keenan Allen and like he had Gates and like he locked in the guys, but like he spreads the ball around. He's Tom Brady 2.0. They spread the ball around so much.
He's better than Brady.
That I'm not even going to get into that conversation. Yeah, I can't play the pass catchers. I don't think in this spot, but I like Taylor a lot. Like he's one of my favorite running backs on the slate. So, and my favorite thing about Taylor is I can run it back with either Galladay or Jones or Hawkinson. Because I do think the Lions score some points here.
I do too, and like it's an interesting spot. The Colts force a lot of targets away from wide receivers, but Stafford's going to be locked into probably probably Galladay and maybe Marvin Jones. I think the better play over on Detroit is going to be Hawkinson. I think Hawkinson has a decent day here. He's had over 9 points in every single spot so far this season, and it's just the defense that Indy plays that Hawkinson could be in for a slightly higher than average workload. Well, a lot of people are going to be on Jones or Galladay. I think I'd rather go with Hawkinson, but I really don't mind Galladay or Jones. As for the backfield, like Swift is going to fully take over at some point, but
it's kind of happening, right? Like
it's on its way. Like 9 rushes last week, 14 the week before. But Peterson, for some reason, they're still rushing him. This could be the spot where they just full on take over. It's not the easiest spot in the world, so I think I'm going to wait one more week for Swift. I'm not going to argue with playing him at 5.3K, but probably not a guy that I really want to go with. I think over on the Detroit side for me, it's Hawkinson's my guy.
Yeah, like it was the changing of the guard this past weekend, right? Like Kerryon Johnson didn't see a snap. Swift out snapped Peterson by about 16%, 15%. So it's happening. Like it really just like, if you think Swift is in play, then you're probably more on like T.Y. Hilton and guys like that. You're expecting Indy to get up in this game or the other way around. You're expecting Detroit to get up in this game and Indy to play from behind. So I like Galladay. I always like Galladay, but I think Marvin Jones is super interesting too. Kind of what you were talking about. Like this team does like to force targets away from top guys. So Patriots and Bills, 42.5 total here. Buffalo favored by 3.5. Anything on the Patriots that you like here?
No, I mean, you can use Cam naked. It's the same thing literally every single week. There's rushing upside. There's rushing touchdown upside. That's the reason you use Cam. I mean, looking at his passing attempts outside of that Seattle game, the most he's passed in a game is 28. I don't see huge amounts of upside. He's throwing a ton of picks. Like, it's not an easy matchup. It's not a high total. It's just not a good offense right now. And, like, if you're playing Cam, you're hoping he busts off a 30-yard run for a touchdown, or they use him twice in the red zone. But, yeah, Patriots are not a team that you really want to target too much, and especially over in Buffalo, it could be bad weather. So I really don't want to play any Patriot at all.
Yeah, it's like, who do you play? Like realistically, like who do you play outside of maybe Cam by himself? But he's been so terrible. Like Harris, White, Burkhead all played over 30% of the snaps not last week, like on the season. White really kind of went by the wayside. Harris is like trending in the right direction, but you can't trust the Patriots running back. Like the targets, like Jacoby Myers had the most targets last week. Obviously it was because they were getting crushed, but like when you're looking at this overall, I think realistically, if you're playing like Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, you're probably running it back with like an Edelman, a Bird, or a Harry, and just kind of hoping that one of them finds a touchdown. But this is one of my least favorite games. I think this is going to be a lot of people's least favorite games. What are your thoughts here on the Bills?
I don't want anything. I've talked about this since the beginning of last year. Josh Allen doesn't play nearly as good in bad weather. It's supposed to be 50. It's supposed to be raining. There's supposed to be 15 to 25 miles per an hour wind. I just don't see, like, Diggs is fine. I'm fine with using Diggs any given week, but going up against the Patriots, they'll probably try and shut him down. Josh Allen always has a chance for big upside. He can throw for 250 and he can rush for 70, which is what he'll occasionally do when he's in bad weather. It can hit, but if there's no ownership on Josh Allen, you always take a shot. But nothing about this says that he should be in for a big game. He's been a little bit off the last few weeks. Terrible weather, going up against Patriots, who Belichick will probably figure out a way to stop him somehow. So, yeah, I'll have one share of him on some random site for some small amount of money just because I have to legally have him in my lineup every single week. But yeah, it's really in no way sets up as a decent spot. But if he's going to come in at 1% ownership, there's always huge rushing upside with him. So if you're going to take him, just pair him with Diggs. Hope Diggs has a 10-target game with a few underneath passes because he's such a good route runner, and you're just hoping for a large amount of targets.
This game stinks, but it's probably going to be one of the lowest owned games on the slate. So, like, if you're playing like a $1 tournament or something, take a shot. Why not?
Are there any sites anymore that allow 2 quarterbacks?
I don't think so. Realistically, like right now, I only play on DraftKings and FanDuel. I play like one team on Yahoo every week, but like I've kind of narrowed it down. Like I was like overextending myself way too much during football season last year.
You know me, I play every site.
I know you do, buddy. And I might when NASCAR ends, but like I just don't have time right now. So Raiders and Browns, 52.5 total. Cleveland favored by 2.5. Grant, this is my favorite game on the slate. And I'm interested to see like what ownership's going to look like on this game because I love this game. I think this game has so many options and it could be so potentially high scoring. What are your thoughts on Las Vegas here?
I'm trying to figure out who to use on Las Vegas. Like Ruggs, I think, is a guy that has some decent amount of upside. They have a 25 implied team total here. Obviously, I love Jacobs. Like, first of all, I love Jacobs here. He's one of the top running back plays on the entire slate. Going up against Cleveland, they've been below average in terms of rush defense. I love the running backs on both sides. Like, they're fantastic plays. Play them. I get that Jacobs had a rough week last week, only going for 17 yards. That was against the Bucs. I'm entirely ignoring that. He's going to get a ton of volume. He's a fantastic play. But from the receiving game, I think it's obviously Waller, but I think Ruggs is the guy I want to go with. Always has big play upside. I think he's going to be a little bit more heavily involved. He's gone up against 2 very tough week defenses in a row, but this guy is talented. He's the guy that I want to go with.
See, I want to see if Edwards plays. If Edwards doesn't play, like Nelson Aguilar is like snap share is super interesting. Like he's been getting a lot more outside. Like Hunter Renfrow is going to be the slot guy. He's going to play no matter what. But like if Edwards doesn't play,
Aguilar so
I do too. But like he's found new life, Grant. Like Las Vegas Sun has kind of brought him back to life. Like you've been to Vegas, you know how Las Vegas Sun brings you back to life.
I mean, but it actually probably brings me more towards death whenever I'm there, but that's because I'm out by the pool and about 50 jello shots in.
Yeah. We'll go with that. I think Ruggs is like your home run play. I think Waller is like your safer play. I think Jacobs is a guy that has a ton of upside too. Like there's a lot of options that you can look at here. But I love the Cleveland side. I think, like, I wish Odell Beckham a fast recovery, but like with him being out of the offense and Hooper banged up, and it doesn't sound like Hooper is going to be back. He could play. Like it condenses the targets here. Like we know Chubb's not going to be back, and so Hooper will not play. It doesn't sound like he'll play anyway. So, like, we have a very condensed. I think Kareem Hunt's one of the best running back point per dollar plays on the entire slate. Like, this is a great spot for Hunt, Landry, Bryant, Njoku. Even Baker Mayfield's in play.
Kareem Hunt is probably my favorite raw points play on the slate for running back. If Michael Thomas comes back, then I think I have him over both Derrick Henry and Kamara. Cleveland is, or not Cleveland, Raiders are not a good defense. They're not a good rush defense. Without OBJ, I think they actually will end up passing the ball more to Kareem Hunt. We know that they can work him out into the slot. We know he's a great pass catcher. Like Hunt is my favorite play on the entire slate at running back. I just have to see where his ownership ends up going. That'll kind of determine things, but regardless, I'll probably still end up with around 40% on him, maybe more if he's at low ownership. For the pass catchers, I mean, Higgins is 4.2K. Higgins obviously had 100 yards last week, and Landry is going to probably get a decent amount of volume, although I think they're still going to spread things around. So at 5.6K, he's not my favorite play. Higgins at 4.2, far too cheap. And then what's his name? The new tight end just comes in here. Dean says something about him, and the worst thing in the world, Dean was actually right. Bryant is probably still going to get a decent workload. It could be Njoku, but 3.2K, OBJ going to have a little bit more. OBJ being out, they're going to have a little bit more targets to go around. Raiders is giving up the 5th most points to tight end so far this season. Bryant, Higgins, Landry, Hunt, this is a perfect stack game. And with OBJ gone, honestly, their offense could end up being better.
I don't doubt that either. Like, I think that Odell Beckham is a very talented player. Like, I'm not trying to say that. I just think that this is a spot that, for DFS purposes, the targets and everything become more condensed, and it's easier to kind of predict where everything's going. Like, Hunt played 92% of the snaps last week. Like, he is going to play this entire game, and this is a defense that allows the 2nd most fantasy points to running backs. They're 29th in DVOA. Like, this is a great spot to play Kareem Hunt. Steelers and Ravens, 46.5 total here. Baltimore favored by 4. What do you like here for Pittsburgh?
For Pittsburgh, I pretty much stack them up almost every single week. Like, someone ends up going off. Roethlisberger can always put up a massive game. This one's a little bit tougher, though. Like, they're going up against Baltimore. Baltimore has a good defense. This divisional game always seems to be low scoring, always seems to be close, which is a good thing. But either Claypool or Johnson, I think, is going to go off for a big game. Everyone's going to be on Johnson after last week. His 15 targets. We saw him go for 10-plus targets earlier on in the year. So I think this is probably a better Claypool spot. He wasn't targeted much last week. I think that might change this week. The guy is clearly talented. Always a chance that Johnson ends up getting injured. But every single week I stack this up like 4 different ways between Juju, Johnson, Claypool, and Ebron. And I think this is a fine week to do it. Baltimore not going to give up a ton of points to the running back, so I don't really plan on using Connor here. They're 3rd in rush DVOA. I really don't see a huge amount of upside unless he falls into the end zone twice. So it's a passing game I'm targeting over on the Pittsburgh side. And if I had to rank him, it's probably Claypool, Johnson, Ebron, and then Juju.
I think it's a really tough matchup for Juju. Like, slot guys have not done well against this team this season. We know like Marlon Humphrey is one of the highest graded cornerbacks, and he is strictly in the slot, it seems like. So tough matchup. So one of the outside guys. So I'll mix and match Claypool and Johnson here. And I honestly don't hate Ebron. I think Ebron's fine. I don't think he's the worst play in the slate. So I don't think he's the best play either. I think he's interesting if they kind of take Juju away and they have to kind of dump it off a little bit more. And I will play some Pittsburgh Steelers defense here, just because of how they can get to the quarterback. So I probably will have a couple like James Conner Pittsburgh stacks. Baltimore Ravens, I think this is a really tough spot for Lamar Jackson. Like, this is a really tough defense. Like, these are 2 of the top 3 defenses in the league. And like, I think you can argue that Pittsburgh's defense is the best defense. Like, I think all 3 are really close, but I think you can really argue that Pittsburgh's defense is probably why they're going to win the AFC this year.
Zero interest. Yeah, I entirely agree. I have a decent amount of money on Pittsburgh to win the Super Bowl. So hopefully that happens, even though I kind of hate them sometimes. But yeah, I have no interest in using Lamar Jackson here. I have no interest targeting the running backs, even without Mark Ingram in. I know they're going to give more of a workload to Dobbins, but this Pittsburgh rush D is just incredible. So no interest in the running game, the receiving game. Don't think they're going to get much done. I don't see a huge amount of rushing upside. Lamar Jackson last year against Pittsburgh, I think they only had 14 points, and he didn't even play the second game. This is not an easy spot for him. He hasn't been great. Dude always has massive upside. Always can go for 100 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, but this is not the spot here. I'm full on fading everyone over on Baltimore side. Even if I have to bring it back with someone, it's probably just going to be Mark Andrews hoping for a 2-touchdown game here because it is probably going to stay close. But I will likely have very, very, very little exposure to the Ravens.
Yeah, if you're playing anybody here, it's Andrews or like Hollywood Brown. Just take the playmakers.
It's always Andrews or Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like that's the guys you're taking shots on here, but this is not a sexy game. This is a hard divisional. Both these teams like to run the clock. Like, I don't know. I don't see myself using a lot of pieces from this game in general. So Vikings and Packers, 52.5. Green Bay favored by 6.5. What do you like here for the Vikings?
So we need to obviously wait and see if Cook's going to end up coming back. I think
sounds good.
Yeah,
very
sounds
promising.
On track to play, but still, you never know. It's early on in the week, but I mean, we know what runs through this offense. It's going to be a fairly high-scoring game, high total here. So I could see Jefferson, Thielen, or Cook getting it done, but I think my favorite option is Cook. Obviously, Green Bay defense hasn't been great versus the pass or the rush so far this season. Cook is going to be heavily involved in the rushing, the receiving game. It's a get right spot after 2 weeks ago. They just got destroyed by the Falcons for the majority of the game here. So I think they go back to the ground and pound game. They end up rushing the ball with Cook a lot, hoping that it doesn't get out of hand. But I think this is a spot where, like, if you kind of play the game script. If you're going to use Jefferson, Thielen, then you probably want to play out a script where Adams goes nuts or Williams goes nuts later in the game if Aaron Jones doesn't end up playing. But we know what Minnesota is. We know they're Cook. It's going to run through Cook. It's going to run through Jefferson. It's going to run through Thielen.
Those three guys, you know, like it don't overcomplicate this. Like, play some Thielen, play some Jefferson. Dalvin Cook could easily be the highest scoring running back on the slate. Green Bay stinks against the run. Like, they're allowing the most fantasy points against the run. So if Cook is fine and we get news that he's 100%, they had a bye week. He personally said that, like, he probably could have played week 6. So, like, I think he plays, and I think he could crush here. Like, he could have a big game in this one. So I like him. I like Jefferson. I like Thielen. You're probably looking at this game as a stack, and like you said, you tell a story with your lineup in this one because there's so many ways this game can play out that, like, multiple players get there. So let's go to the Green Bay side of things. Like, Devontae Adams coming off of a monster game, 47.1% target share last week after having 32% in week 6. Like, at this point, can you play anybody else? Like, can you play MVS? Can you play Shepard? Like, Toinian? Like, you can't. Like, it's Adams, right? Like, where else would you play any of these guys?
I mean, there's always a chance that one of them goes off for a decent game. MVS is 3.8K. But after saying all that, yeah, no, play Adams. Adams, 8.8K. I don't care. The dude's probably going to he will get 10 plus targets. How many over 10? Who knows? But he's going to get the ball a lot. Minnesota's defense this year, mediocre versus the pass, bad against the run, just bad overall. I really, really like Adams. I really like Jamal Williams. If Jones ends up missing, they just wanted to give the ball to him every single time, or they didn't really want to play Dillon too much. And huge snap share. He's 6.1K now, which is a drastic increase over 4K. That's still probably not high enough. Like, this is a backfield that was doing a lot with the running back. Aaron Jones is having a fantastic year prior to getting injured, and now Williams is just jumping into that Aaron Jones role plus taking on his Jamal Williams role. So he's just doing everything. 6.1K is not high enough for him. Rodgers always in play, but Adams and Williams are fantastic plays this week.
Yeah, like, obviously we'll have to wait on Jones, but also Lazard might be back. So, like, that's another thing that can kind of throw a wrinkle into, like, MVS. If Lazard plays and he's healthy and they, like, say he's good to go, like, he's super interesting at his price. So 4,400 for a guy that had 8 targets in week 4 or 8 targets in week 3 and had 4 targets and a touchdown, 4 catches against Minnesota in week 1. So like, this is a game you definitely want to get exposure to, though. This could be one of the highest scoring games on the slate. Chargers and Broncos, 44.5 total here. Chargers favored by 3.5. What do you like here for the Chargers?
Who do I always like?
Keenan Allen.
And who always crushes?
Keenan Allen. How can you not crush when you have a 30% freaking target share every week?
Yeah, we know like Herbert loves to throw to Allen. Like the only time they didn't love throwing to Allen was Allen was on the sideline, and then he just decided to throw to Mike Williams. With Keenan Allen back in the game, he should absolutely crush his 6.2K price tag over on DK. How is he still so cheap? Like looking at this year with Herbert in there, 10 targets versus KC, 19 versus Carolina, 12 versus Tampa Bay. I think he had the only 2 targets from Herbert before he got injured against New Orleans, and he ended up with a touchdown. 13 targets versus Jacksonville. Going up against Denver, he is still going to get a ton of targets. It's not the easiest matchup in the world, but it's not the worst matchup in the world. He is absolutely going to crush here. I love Keenan Allen. He's probably my favorite wide receiver outside of Adams on the slate, but when you consider price, he's probably my favorite point per dollar wide receiver on the entire slate. Outside of him, like you can use Jackson, you can use Kelly if you really want to. I'm not too high on either of them. Denver has a pretty good rush defense. They're splitting carries. I'm fine with playing Herbert. Like it's not an easy matchup. It's over in Denver, but it's a divisional matchup. I could easily see him going for a big game. So it's Herbert and it's Keenan Allen for me. If you want to throw in one more guy, Hunter Henry, that's fine. Or Guyton, who can end up with a 60-yard catch at some point. He's at 3.6K. There is upside, but there's also a chance that he ends up with almost no points.
Herbert has...
So Keenan Allen, I love Herbert. I really like Guyton or...
No, I was just going to say, like, Herbert has at least 3 passing touchdowns in 3 straight games now. And, like, New Orleans and Tampa Bay, those aren't easy matchups. So... And what's awesome here, Grant, is like we can go Herbert, Allen, Noah Fant, like Fant, like there's a real potential, like stack in this one. So, I think it's awesome that they raised Herbert's price and they didn't raise Keenan Allen's price. Like, what's up with that? It doesn't make any sense, dude. It doesn't make any sense. I kind of already talked about who I like on the Denver side. Like, I think Noah Fant being back is huge for Drew Lock. Jerry Jeudy is interesting, but like, I don't think you can play Patrick, Hamler, and these guys with everybody kind of being healthy, assuming that everybody's going to play here. But let's talk Melvin Gordon too. Like Philip Lindsay's banged up in concussion protocol. This could be another Melvin Gordon, 70% of the snaps game.
Yeah, and who did he used to play for that didn't want to pay him more money?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. There you go.
Yeah.
Nice narrative.
Yeah, so I think Melvin Gordon, Fant, and Jeudy are the 3 guys I want to go with. It's Melvin Gordon revenge game. This is the Chargers, and one thing I know about the Chargers is chances are they're going to blow a win or keep it very close or win or lose on a field goal. So I think this game ends up staying close. I actually like the Broncos a lot, plus 3.5. Everyone's really high on Herbert. No one's really that high on Denver. Both Fant coming back in here, Drew Lock being back in the game. Like I don't mind doing a nice little stack of Lock, Fant, and Jeudy. I think Lock still has upside to have a decent game. He really hasn't done too much this season, obviously because of injuries and other reasons. But if he ends up throwing the ball a lot, then he can end up with 3 touchdowns and 300 yards here, which at 5.3K is too cheap. And we know who's probably going to throw the ball to a lot. It's going to be Jeudy and it's going to be Fant. So I like that little stack there. It's super cheap. It's a decent way to go. But Melvin Gordon, if you want to run the narrative, which it's not a bad thing to do, Chargers rush defense really is not that great. But this, I think, is going to be a higher scoring game than people realize. My favorite bring back if you're stacking up the Chargers is Fant. And I don't mind playing any of these guys, though. This is going to be a lot lower owned than it should be because it's only got a 44.5 team total. Weather's not supposed to be terrible on Sunday over here in Denver. I know this because I had Halloween plans and now they're entirely done for because apparently we have way too many COVID cases. Sad, but yeah, I think this game's going to be a lot higher scoring than. Take Denver plus or minus 3.5 and take the over of 44.5.
I like the over in this game too. I think it's super interesting. And There's just so many fun ways you can stack this game that like has such potential to do well. So moving on here, we got the Saints and the Bears, 43.5 total. New Orleans favored by 4.5 in this game. Obviously when we're looking at the Saints, it's the same question we've been like asking ourselves all year. Like, is it going to be Thomas? Like, is he going to be back? Like he was back and then like got a hamstring strain like in the later of the week. Like Thomas affects Kamara so much, in my opinion. So we'll have to see. But we know that Emmanuel Sanders is not going to be able to play. Like I think it's like 2 weeks or something like that before they can play. So like he's out. Marcus Cal is questionable. Like I don't know, man. I think it's super hard to like talk about the Saints because we just have to see if Michael Thomas is going to play or not.
Yeah, I mean, if Michael Thomas doesn't end up playing, play Kamara. Like it's that simple. We know his target share. With that, no one else in the game, play him. Probably play Cooks. If Michael Thomas does end up playing, play Michael Thomas, maybe. Play Kamara, maybe. But I'm not really. If Michael Thomas ends up playing, I'm probably just staying away from the Saints. But if he's out, it's Kamara.
Yeah, like Traquan Smith, I'll go back to the well on him. Like he still ran the most routes on the team, had the highest target or snap share. So like I think Traquan is someone you could look at again. I think Jared Cook if Thomas is out, but if Thomas plays, he's in play. Kamara, he's in play either way, I think, but I think his upside is a lot higher if Thomas doesn't play. On the Bears, Allen Robinson's in concussion protocol. Like that could make the Bears a little bit more interesting, but either way, I think it's a great spot for Jimmy Graham. And it has nothing to do with like revenge narratives or anything like that. It has everything to do with like Nick Foles likes Jimmy Graham in the red zone.
Nick Foles likes Jimmy Graham in the red zone. The Saints have given up the largest percentage by a wide margin, largest percent of target share to opposing tight ends. This is a perfect spot for Jimmy Graham, especially if Allen Robinson ends up missing. Like they passed the ball to Kmet twice and then didn't even bother using him. So most of the tight end targets are going to go to Jimmy Graham. He's been getting around 6 for weeks. Nick Foles loves throwing to him. So I'm right there with you over on Jimmy Graham. Allen Robinson makes it interesting. If Robinson ends up playing, I'm fine with using him. If not, Mooney's too cheap at 3.5K. Like if you watch the game, Nick Foles entirely missed him on one throw where he was getting hit. He couldn't quite connect with him. This is a spot where I think if Robinson ends up missing, Mooney's should crush. If Robinson doesn't end up missing, Mooney's not going to be heavily owned, and he's 3.5K. That's far too low. I'm not using Nick Foles. Probably won't have a ton of exposure to Montgomery. I don't hate him as a play at 5.9K, but it's not the best. He could end up getting a few dump-offs, but this is just going to be an ugly game all around. It's Jimmy Graham in this game regardless, and Montgomery or Allen Robinson are fine plays, but nothing special.
Yeah, Montgomery's going to get the touches. Like he's one of the few workhorse running backs that we have in the NFL right now. So if you end up in his price range and you want to take a guy that's going to be less than 5% owned, that is a 3-down running back, take a shot on him. But outside of that, like it's hard to recommend playing him. He just hasn't been able to do anything with the touches. So we move on to the final game on the main slate. We got the 49ers and the Seahawks, 53.5 total. Seattle's favored by 3. Let's start here with the 49ers. There's potential of Telvin Coleman being activated this week. I think we should start there. Deebo Samuel's out. He's hurt. What do you like here for the 49ers?
I really like their receiving game. So Seahawks on the season, they have been by far giving up the most points to opposing wide receivers and quarterbacks. It's always a high-scoring game here. Seattle doesn't fully have a pass rush. They did just trade for Dunlap, which should come in. I don't even know if he's going to play this week. I can't remember the COVID protocols. It literally just broke a few hours ago. But Seattle giving up tons of points to wide receivers so far this season. So I'm planning on using a lot of the receiving game. Kendrick Bourne, Deebo Samuel's probably missing, is too cheap at 3.5K. Ayuk's probably a little expensive at 5.8K, but in this type of game environment has some upside. So I plan on using him or Kittle in almost every single lineup. I just love this spot for the San Francisco passing game. Yes, they are a team that likes to run the ball a lot, but again, Hasty, McKinnon, if Coleman comes back, it's just a whole mess. You have to wait and see later on in the week. I don't know who to use. If Coleman's out, then you can go with Hasty or McKinnon. I don't mind either of them. They're still probably going to run the ball a decent amount, but Garoppolo, I actually really like this week, and I want to pair him with Ayuk's, with Kittle, with Bourne. Any one of them are fine. They're all great options. I think Garoppolo crushes and is one of the highest point per dollar quarterback plays on this entire slate at just 5.4K.
Yeah, I think Brandon Ayuk, he has the potential to go nutty in this game, right? I think this is an amazing spot for him. Like, I highlighted him in the expert survey this week. Like, that's how much I like this spot for him. So, listen, Seattle can't run the ball right now. Carson's banged up. Carlos Hyde's banged up. This is going to be a game where San Francisco's going to have plenty of chances to score a lot of fantasy points. Because Seattle's going to put up points. Russell Wilson's going to put up points. So, Ayuk is just this seems like a great spot for him to just have his rookie breakout game. Kendrick Bourne's too cheap, like you said. 3.5K is crazy with no Debo. George Kittle could have 15 million catches in this game, so definitely make sure you're playing. George Kittle here. I know you got to pay up for him, but this is a spot go back to week 4. This dude put up 43 fantasy points. That is a real possibility to happen. So definitely has some to him. And then on the Seattle side of things, it's Russ, it's Metcalf, it's Lockett. Don't overthink the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, no, and you can use one, you can use the other, you can use both of them. It's really just the Seahawks every single week, probably been the best stack on the board. It's just without fail. So yeah, we know where it's going. It's Metcalf and it's Lockett. A guy that I think that you can go with if you want to throw something else into this stack and you need to save some money. Disley got 4 targets last week. Grant was against the Cardinals. We could possibly see him getting more and more work in this offense. Obviously, Greg Olsen being there is a little bit different than last year. But Disley coming back from, was it Achilles or ACL? I can't remember.
I think it was Achilles, but you could be right.
Yeah, it was Achilles, and he's played pretty much all season long. He hasn't been getting a ton of targets, but at some point, Russell Wilson always just messes with everyone, and Luke Wilson or Will Disley or Hollister or Greg Olsen will have a massive game. I think this is a spot where if you don't want to pay up at tight end and you want a guy that's super low owned that fits perfectly with a game stack and allows you to pay up for Russ and Lockett and some other high-priced running backs or Devontae Adams because you want all of them into your lineup. Will Disley at 2.8K has touchdown equity, could see an increase in volume as he did last week. He's a guy that I think is a really, really good tournament play, but the rest of the Seahawks we know, and I'm probably not going with Carlos Hyde. I don't care if it's a revenge game. Carlos Hyde is just exactly what he was with the Texans. Not exciting. Could get there, but probably not going to, and they could throw Homer into the mix now that they've had a full week of practice with them in there. So it's Metcalf, Lockett, Wilson, and Disley as a tournament play.
Well, Hyde and Homer are both banged up too. This could easily be a DJ Dallas game. We have no idea what to expect here as far as the Seattle Seahawks. Hyde's dealing with a hamstring injury. Homer had a knee. I think it was something with his knee. We have no idea what to expect from the Seattle. Russell Wilson could potentially be the leading rusher on this team on Sunday. So, the pass catchers just become so interesting in this game. We'll have to see what happens here as far as the Seattle running backs go as the week progresses. Hopefully we get some more news, but it is Pete Carroll, so who knows? This is an interesting game, Grant. This game has a total, it has a high total, and it is going to be a game I think a lot of people are going to be on as far as fantasy wise. So let's play the morning grind game and then we'll get out of here, man. Let's look at quarterback to score or the quarterback to throw for over 300 yards. That's not one of the top guys.
Jimmy G.
Jimmy G. Give me Burrow. Give me a low on running back for a touchdown.
I'm trying to figure out who's low on my computer.
It's always tough when we don't have projected ownership yet, but take a stab at it.
Oh, it's not going to be anyone from that Cleveland game. I guess Melvin Gordon.
I like that. He could potentially get more ownership if Lindsey's out, but he could still potentially be lower owned. Let's see here. I think it's a week that Gaskin gets a touchdown. Might be passing, but I think Gaskin gets a touchdown this week. So I'll go with him. Give me a quarterback wide receiver stack for a touchdown.
Keenan Allen, Herbert.
I would have been disappointed if you didn't take them.
Of course I'm going to take them. And I wonder how heavily owned they're going to be because 24 implied total on this slate is not a ton, and it's in Denver.
I'm gonna stick with my quarterback from a minute ago. I'm gonna go Burrow, T. Higgins for a touchdown. Give me a wide receiver for 8+ targets on this slate.
Oh man, I shouldn't have used Allen. I'm trying to go up. I feel like the right move is always pretty much Allen, Adams, or Crowder. I don't know if Crowder is going to play. I guess I don't know. I'll stick with San Fran and go Ayuk's.
You took my dude. I did not expect you to take him before we started this podcast. Like, I did not see that one coming. All right, that threw me for a curveball. I'm gonna go with my game. Like, all right, here you go. I'll just go with my full on game stack here. Give me Corey Davis to pair with my Cincinnati guys. Give me a tight end that's gonna score a touchdown this week.
Going ballsy, Will Dissly.
I like it. I'm not gonna go too crazy here. I think Jimmy Graham scores a touchdown. We talked about him a few minutes ago, and then finish it off with a defense that's gonna score 10+ points this week.
I'm trying to go.
Don't pick Kansas City. Like it's the Jet.
I'll go with the Packers. They haven't been
great. I like that. Like they have a really good line adjusted rate here. They could get some stacks in this game. I like that call.
Yeah, and Cousins was terrible against Atlanta, so there's always a chance that he does that again.
Yeah, he can always throw a pick. You know what? Give me the Steelers. Like they're a little off the board, right? The Steelers.
Yeah. I mean. Yeah, against Baltimore, I would expect
against Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, this is going to be a fun week, but lock in Keenan Allen, stack up the San Francisco game, and stack up the Broncos game.
All right, there you go. That's going to wrap it up here for week 8. We'll be back tomorrow talking some specialists. We're going to talk college football for the Thursday and Friday slate with Sean Newsome on the podcast for tomorrow. So make sure you're checking out that. That's going to wrap it up here. Hope everyone has an awesome week 8, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow.
See you, kids.